Sometimes in chess, we want to play against somebody who isn't quite the same rating as us. Maybe they're a little higher, maybe they're a little lower, but we still want to have a fair and balanced match. Now, fortunately, there's a handicap system in place to handle this kind of thing. It's called piece odds. Essentially, the bigger the gap between the players, the less pieces the stronger player has. You take away maybe a queen, a rook, maybe two rooks. You just take away enough until it's approximately balanced. But that got me thinking, how big of a gap was there between chess.com's crowd favorite Martin bot and the world's strongest bot, Stockfish? So I wanted to see, and I got to putting these two against each other. And let's get into it. So I started out, gave Martin bot here a bit of a handicap. There's a bit of a skill gap here. Let's be real. He may be an honorary grandmaster in our hearts, but he is ultimately a 250 rated bot. So I took away all of Stockfish's major pieces besides the queen, left him like this. Let's see what happened. Martin bot with the white pieces, Stockfish with the black pieces. Martin plays g3. Now, maybe not the most aggressive move considering he's up 22 points of material, but this is fine. And Stockfish is just going to try to develop normally. Just try to not hang anything, get out of the way of this bishop attack maybe. And yeah, Martin's just playing his game. He's just playing his game. Now, what I would say is if you're up this much material, you don't need to play this slowly. You don't need to fianchetto your bishop. You don't need to do like this. Put your pawns in the center. Bring your queen out. Start making threats, right? Your opponent doesn't have enough pieces to defend against everything. You can very easily go here, trade the queens, and he doesn't do that. You trade the queens, the game is over, right? You're up so much material. The only hope black has is this queen. So Martin puts his knight on the side of the board. He's a chess engine. I'm sure he sees further than us. And Stockfish is just playing very slowly. Stockfish doesn't want to overextend here, because if you overextend, you're going to start losing pawns. You don't have many pawns to begin with, so that's a problem. So let's see. Stockfish says, all right, I'm going to bring my queen out a little bit, put some pressure on this knight. Now this pawn, maybe if this bishop was somewhere else, it couldn't move. It doesn't really do anything. Maybe we'll trade this for the knight if we need to delay later. Who knows? Who knows? And that's actually immediately what happens. Stockfish just says, I don't need my queen. I don't need my queen. Get it out of here. This delays mate better. And it actually might. That's the funny thing. Because if this knight starts coming in, you might be getting mated pretty quickly, So Stockfish just throws away his queen immediately, trying to hold on for dear life. But Martin bot doesn't notice. Martin bot doesn't notice he can take this queen. That's just a free queen. He could. Stockfish retreats the queen, and all of a sudden, there's a queen out on the board. One piece has fallen. This pawn is a little bit weak. Who has the better development here? It shouldn't be black. It should not be black. Now, there's still a pawn here, defended. There's a pawn here, defended. Martin needs to do something. Stockfish pushes his pawn, trying to make some counterplay, open things up a little bit, trying to lose the game immediately. Moves his queen over, doesn't take yet, wants to just hold on to this, because if he takes, maybe this gets opened up, and then he's got pressure on his queen, on the king. It's a bit awkward. He's not going to take here, right? So he moves his queen over. Now this pawn can't really take back. So this is actually suddenly a threat again. Because now you don't take back. Because if you do take back, queen takes bishop, and your rook is trapped, right? It's no good. It's no good. So of course, Martin says, all right, I'm a cultured player. I'm going to defend my bishop with my king. I don't need to castle, really. But the problem with this is that it hangs a pawn. This pawn was sitting over here. This rook is undefended. You can't go here, because then your bishop is undefended. So you could go here, defend this pawn. Let's see what Martin does. Pushes a pawn. It's starting to fall apart here a little bit. Now, I say it's starting to fall apart here. Martin is still up 13 points of material, okay? He's up 13 points of material. If you go here, there's a discovered attack threat on the queen. He's not out of options. But he gets a little overambitious. Now, this has happened to us all. We see this cool idea. We're like, oh, if I have a bishop here, then when I move this pawn, it's going to be check. And then I'll be able to take the queen. And that's all really cool. But he forgets for just a moment here that the queen can just take his queen. This had to be check. You can't just go here with the pawn still in the way. And all of a sudden, the advantage is not that great. It's only plus 2.3 for Martin. Stockfish has managed to bring it back all the way from being down every piece to having a queen for a bishop, a knight, a rook, and another bishop. And Martin's just pushing pawns. Black's king is completely safe here. Black does not care at all about this discover check. The queen comes back, covers that. Now, don't get too hasty with the checks here. Stockfish could have given this check. Doesn't really do anything. Maybe allows this to happen. Now it gets a little developed. Doesn't win anything, right? You're not winning this bishop like that. You have to go here. Make sure this is no longer an issue. Bishop retreats. Doesn't get hung. Fantastic. Unfortunately, pawn hangs with check. And this is what I said. The knight now does develop, but this time we want a pawn for it. So the king gets out of the way. We're off this diagonal. There's no more issues here ever. Rook comes over, defending the king. That doesn't work, Martin. You can't defend your king with a rook. You do, in fact, have to avoid getting it taken. But okay. He understands at least that he needs to defend his king. Just maybe not the most accurate way to go about it. Maybe he wants to bring his rook here instead so he can move his king, unpin this knight. But whatever. Queen comes over, putting pressure on this. Obviously, defend in multiple ways still. But maybe in the future. There's also some ideas of taking here, potentially. This is still only defended by the king. King not a great defender of pieces if he ever gets deflected, right? If he ever gets deflected by a check, he's got to go somewhere else. Now he could go here, of course, but we'll see. Martin sees that, of course. He's a very good player. Brings his rook over. And like I said, Stockfish takes. Stockfish takes the pawn. And now there's issues because while this is still defended, pawns are starting to get in. We're starting to get access to checks. Maybe the king is going to get hunted out a little bit. We'll see. But unfortunately, Martin does not see. And he sees that his king is attacked. He goes and defends it again. And what does this do? It allows this. Now, this doesn't lose the knight. This doesn't lose the knight because the king can go to e1. But once the king's on e1, this pawn's a little far forward. You can't really take it with the knight because you'll lose this bishop. Your king's kind of stuck on the back rank. It's really awkward. It's really, really awkward. But he doesn't even do that. He goes the wrong way, and you see that right. The evaluation bar minus 1.6. Stockfish is in the lead. Martin was given all this advantage, plus 22 points, and he still can't wrap it up. He still couldn't wrap it up. It's so close to mate. If his bishop gets out of the way, this is mate. That's exactly what happens. Martin accepts his fate. He says, GG, go next. Hangs mate in 1, and loses the game. All right, so this wasn't enough. This wasn't enough of an advantage for Martin. So what if we take away the queen? The queen caused all the problems, right? Surely, if Stockfish only has pawns, there's no way, right? Martin wouldn't just lose all his pieces to 8 pawns and lose the game, would he? Surely not. So this time he decides he was a little passive last game. Starts out with a little bit of b4 action, just pushing his pawn right up the board, taking not really the center, but he's taking some. He's taking space. Black tries to feed and kiddo his bishop that doesn't exist. White just immediately decides, the center's overrated. We don't need that. His queen's not getting out. Maybe I'll go here or something. Come over here, try to checkmate immediately. He's pushing pawns, though. I like this. I like this a lot better because when you're up this much material, you got to be aggressive, right? You got to push stuff at your opponent, trade off these pawns, make something happen. Don't just sit there. Black has to just sit here, though. Black absolutely has to just sit here. Now this knight, maybe he's going to come in. You can even trade the knight for some pawns. It doesn't matter. Stockfish says, nah, I don't think I want your knight coming in so early. I'll cut it off a little bit. You can still go here, but that's not so nice. Maybe this check does something. Everything's winning. Everything's winning for Martin. So he's just pushing pawns. He's pushing pawns. Black's holding on as best he can, shuffling pieces around. God knows what this is. This is a Martin move if I've ever seen it. But it gets justified immediately. Now all of a sudden the rook is on the right file. It's lined up with the king. Now, I don't think Stockfish is trying to help out his opponent here. I don't think there's actually an issue, given this isn't an open file yet. But maybe in the future, he's got some ideas. It's the Martin plan. Trust him. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Like this, maybe he'll go here. He'll put his bishop here. He'll sack his knight. Stockfish won't see it. He'll take and he'll get mated. It's genius. It's genius. Trust me. He sees the future. It'll surely happen the way Martin envisions. It's a bit of a mouse slip. It's a bit of a mouse slip, okay? It's a bit of a mouse slip. We were talking about putting our bishop on b2. a3, pretty close. I would argue close enough. He honestly likes this kind of setup, actually. He did this last game, too. So the king comes forwards. Stockfish is playing this very smart. He's playing very slow. He's making his opponent come to him. Stockfish doesn't want to overextend, allow his opponent quick play, and so he's just going to sit here and try to defend his stuff as best he can, right? And so that's what he does. He's maybe allowing some attacks here, but Martin's not going to play it. Martin's trying to put all his pieces in the second row. That's what Martin's trying to do. He's just setting up the pieces for next game just without the first row. So Stockfish doing the same, pushing all his pawns one square, let him do one more. He'll have won at Connect 8, and he will win the game. Martin, very careful to avoid that, plays C3. And of course, that just intimidates Stockfish, and Stockfish immediately loses the Connect 8 game, pushes this pawn. All right. So what does Stockfish have going on here, right? That's the question. Stockfish has a line of pawns that's honestly not the easiest thing to break into. If you try to make an attack on this pawn, for example, by pushing this, he'll just push this maybe. You take one of these, he takes back, right? We've traded pawns. That's good for white, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. It doesn't really do a whole lot, right? So white just needs to bring his pieces and get out there and attack him. He's not doing that yet, and that's why this isn't checkmate yet. It's only plus 18. So he does move his pawn finally. This is no longer as much of an issue. Let's see what happens. Obviously, that also does enable pawn breaks like this, though. So you got to be a little careful. You got to be a little careful here. I say that as if there's some sort of counterplay. Black doesn't have any counterplay. Let's be real here. Black is just trying not to get mated. So Black plays this, and this bishop is suddenly very bad. By putting the queen here, you've kind of just allowed Black to lock down the position. You can't even try to make a pawn break like this happen, because first of all, I can just take. But even if I don't take and you go here, I'll just take back. Black just takes back. And Martin is not saving this bishop without, well, it's not losing it, but he's not getting this bishop to play again until his queen gets back out of the way. So be a little careful of stuff like this, you know? Pawns can be easily blockaded. Didn't think you'd be learning anything from Martin, did you? But here we are. So he lines his queen up back up in the middle, gets out of the way of his bishop. Maybe he'll have some ideas of making a pawn break happen. And Black immediately tries to defend against it, actually. Now if here, maybe he'll push this pawn, takes, things are opened up a little, who knows? Pushes this pawn, tries to get a little bit of action on his own side, actually. Maybe he's thinking Stockfish is going to run this pawn up the board. He's thinking maybe Martin Bot won't see it, right? Maybe Martin Bot won't notice the knight, or the pawn, or the bishop, or the rook, or the queen, or the king. Just walk. Maybe he just won't realize that he can defend against this infiltration. All right. Martin just plays king, queen d2. Martin's not really doing the most accurate thing here, but he's not losing. He's not losing. He does lose a pawn, but like we said, that's not a big deal, right? It's just not a big deal. He needs to do something, though. He needs to push his pawns. Pawn breaks. That's what's important here. He's gotten into this position where everything is locked up, right? You can't really pull any pieces forwards. You got to push your pawns, and you got to make something happen. You can even sacrifice. You could go here. Maybe you trade your bishop for this pawn. Just tear apart the pawns, get in there, go after the king. This is not that. This is bringing your queen back to d1. It is too far into the game. You're up 30 points of material. You can't be playing like this, Martin. Okay. Take the pawn. Take the pawn, Martin. We were talking about this. Don't let this pawn just come forwards. Martin, he does in fact stop the pawn promotion, though, to his credit. But unfortunately for him, he always stops the pawn promotion on h1. What he also does is he hangs a rook, because you can no longer block that pawn promotion with your rook, and this rook has nowhere to go. Fantastic. Good job, Martin. Managed to hang a piece to nothing but pawns. All right, he moves his king forwards, obviously taunting Stockfish a little bit here, and Stockfish responds in kind by under-promoting to a rook. Oh boy, Stockfish. Now, I'm pretty sure Stockfish just thought, hey, you know, if I promote to a queen here, there's no way I'm getting out, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. If I promote to a queen or a rook, he'll go here, maybe. The queen's not getting out. I would argue differently. The queen definitely has better chances of getting out. But Stockfish sees all. He realizes. He sees the mate in 76. He realizes this queen is no longer going to get out, so he decides to lose a little bit less material, you know? Rook's 5 points, queen's 9 points. Wants to lose a little bit less. And, okay, Martin brings his knight back. Obviously, just try not to lose it. I don't know why he's trying not to lose it when he just gave up a full rook. But okay, Stockfish wants to repeat his success. He starts bringing another pawn forwards. Now, I think he should be pushing his h-pawn. The h-pawn was the one that promoted last. Get down there, see what happens. I don't know. Don't let your opponent get away with doing dumb stuff. But Stockfish is okay with that. Stockfish is okay with his opponent doing a little questionable things, locking his own bishops in jail, making sure his own bishops can't play the game, making sure his rook's not playing. Develop your pieces, please. For the love of God. Thank you. Martin finally develops his knight, and now he's finally ready to play this pawn push, right? He's finally ready. Stockfish can't do anything but shuffle his king back and forth. So Martin does a little bit taunting and loses a bishop. Now, of course, he doesn't lose the bishop. This can be taken two different ways. But it's Martin. It's Martin. He's a pacifist. He's a pacifist. He doesn't like taking his opponent's pieces unnecessarily. Stockfish has no such qualms. Stockfish actually just takes the knight instead of the bishop. No, that's not a bishop. That's a queen. He takes the knight instead of the queen because if he takes the queen, it doesn't come with check, I assume. That's my best guess. Taking the knight, it comes with check and forces a response. If you take the queen, maybe there's a fast mate. I don't know. Martin finally gives up his pacifist ways, captures back, and okay. The pawn's promoted. It's 20 points. Still it's completely winning. This time for sure, he's got nothing left to do. He can't play like any more moves that don't make progress. He could shuffle his king around. That's nonsense. He wouldn't do that. Stockfish tries to repeat his success, brings the h-pawn, gets the king out of the way of this attack. It's not a very scary attack, Martin. I don't think you need to be that scared, but he tries it. He tries it. All right, and Stockfish is finally going for his own pawn breaks. This is a pawn sacrifice, actually. Obviously, completely undefended. But maybe his idea is to try to go after this, right? You play this, you play this, you play this. Bring your king over, maybe. He doesn't have enough pieces to really support it, and the bishop can always retreat. Maybe he's going for some kind of attack like that. Who knows? Queen comes over, stops the pawn from promoting. Another pawn break right in the center. Martin doesn't care. And Stockfish is in fact doing that. He brings his pawn forwards. Hasn't taken this yet, but he's threatening to. He's still threatening to play this. And the knight just comes over. Now the knight is going after these pawns. Comes with check. Could just take this. All sorts of ideas here. Martin's finally going forwards, though. I like it. I like it. Now, just go here. Give a check. I don't care if it's not the best move. Take this pawn. Something like that. That's fine too, Martin. That's fine too. Take a pawn. Take this pawn back. Nope. No, that's not Martin. Do not let this pawn promote. I swear, Martin, if you let this pawn come forwards and you let this promote, there will be no cookies for you. Okay? Loses a bishop. Okay, just block the promotion. Block it, please. Martin. Ooh, we're going to have to talk later. We're going to have a talk about this later, Martin. Now, Stockfish, well known for its BM, decides not to take the rook. I could not tell you why he decides not to take the rook. I just can't. This seems like very clearly the best move. Maybe it just had an aneurysm or something, decided it wanted to get out of the way of this pawn. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he thought after takes, maybe there's this. Giving a check, and maybe that's what he saw. That's the only justification I can find, this check. I have no idea. That seems very weird to me. Any human would play this. Just take the rook. Just take the rook. But of course, Martin leaves it hanging. So now, surely, Stockfish does not oblige. Comes forwards, re-enabling this check immediately. But maybe he'll bring his king forwards, you know? Maybe he'll bring his king forwards, attack the knight. Who knows? Stockfish's ideas, they're beyond me. They certainly are. Okay. The knight's gone. There is no more check here. Please, take the rook. Take the goddamn rook. Stockfish, what? Okay. Stockfish must have just been infected by Martin. I don't know what they were doing this game. I really would love to explain to you what the idea of this is. I can't. I just can't. This seems like clearly the best idea to me. I guess, to be fair, this pawn isn't going anywhere, and even if it does capture, you're not really keeping anything. It doesn't really matter if you're up down 17 points of material versus 9 points of material with only pawns on the board. You're still losing. So maybe Stockfish just doesn't care. He's just picking randomly. Fair enough. Understandable. Knight comes forwards. King goes back. Queen finally blocks pawn promotion. Give a little bit of a check here. King slides back. This pawn is hit 3 times. He does not care. Martin finally takes it. This is what Martin was waiting for. He was waiting to take it with the king. Clearly, Stockfish's plan was to just bait the king into walking all the way over here. Look, man, I can't explain it. The king's this far forwards. Knight's hanging. King slides back. All right. Surely now, though. Surely. There's only 4 pawns left for Stockfish. Martin's up a rook, a knight, a queen. I would even argue he's up a king, given that this guy hasn't really done a whole lot. Pawns come forwards. Pawns fly off the board. Pawns fly off the board. Martin doesn't take back. He could have taken back 2 different ways. Fine. Queen is hit. Slides over here. Doesn't allow promotion. Rook is still here. Very smart by Martin. Totally intentional, I'm sure. King slides back. Just trying to make sure he doesn't get checkmated anyhow. There was this previously, this check maybe. So the queen comes over, gobbles a pawn. All right. We're finally running out of stuff. Finally running out of ideas. Stockfish has nothing left. Promotes to a queen just to try to stall. Loses his queen immediately. Pushes his final pawn. Going for a stalemate trap here. Maybe if he can get this pawn out of moves, he will have no moves remaining. All right. His pawn still has a move. No stalemate. It's not quite mate, though. It's not quite mate. It's mate in 4. Martin has to find it. And Martin, he struggles a little bit sometimes. Brings his queen a little closer. I love this. Not necessarily the fastest move, but he cuts the king off a little bit. Just builds a little bit of a box. Fantastic. Builds another box. Not cut off by this pawn this time. Just bring the rook over. Deliver ladder mate. King comes forwards. He's setting it up for you. Bring your rook over. Bring your rook over. The king covers promotion. You could even go here. Sorry, not there. You can go here. You could go here too. Cut off the king a little bit. Put him in a box. All right. A little slow. Queen promotes. All right. Mate in 4. Stockfish can no longer win. It's a king. It's a king. A king cannot checkmate the other king. Martin may be having a bit of a hard time today. He is not managing to hang his king against another king. King shuffles back, just trying to stall for time. King shuffles forwards. He's in a box. It's like I said, you cannot escape this box. All Stockfish can do is wait. And wait he does. And wait he does. Martin tries to coordinate his king and his queen and his rook. Gives a check finally. Surely it's going to be mate. King comes forwards. Rook goes back, making sure it's not going to ever hang if the king tries to go here or something. King comes forwards. Put him in a box. Put him in a box, Martin. Box him, Martin. Put him in a box. All right. That's not it, Martin. You got to be playing with your queen. Martin. And it's a draw by threefold repetition. Okay. Okay, so this wasn't enough of a handicap. I was a little disappointed in Martin here, but okay. Take away all the pawns. Surely, Martin, this time you can win. It can't be that bad, right? I mean, piece odds are designed to help worse players. This is designed specifically for this matchup. It's perfect. Take away all his pieces. There's no way Stockfish can win. It's like beating up a kid to take his lunch money, except it's illegal. I don't know, man. All right, push your pawns. Bring your pieces. Fantastic. He's bringing his pieces out. He's taking the center. He's got it this time. He's learned. This even looks like a real opening, kind of. Just pretend the opponent actually has pieces. His queen's opened up. His bishops are opened up. This is beautiful. His bishop's opened up this way. It's beautiful. All right, not opening anything up. Okay, bring your queen. Bring your queen, Martin. Bring your queen. I'm serious, Martin. You better not just push all your pawns. Martin, he's just bring your queen. Just bring your queen. It's a draw by threefold repetition. I'm speechless. He didn't even try to win, man. He didn't even try. Come on. So at this point, I was feeling a little hopeless. So I tried my last resort. At this point, though, we can already say there is no handicap sufficient to let Martin win. Okay, let's be clear about that. But can he win if we cheat? This is the final bastion of hope. The final chance Martin has. Not only have we taken away all Stockfish's pieces, we've replaced every single major piece that Martin has with queens. There is no chance this time. He literally cannot move a major piece without it being a queen, and he literally cannot move pawns enough times to call, like he can't threefold repetition by a pawn, right? You can't put a pawn back where it was before. So if he moves a queen, he's gonna find checkmate by accident, I'm sure, right? It's mate in 4 in the starting position. That's how bad this is. So he plays a perfectly reasonable move. Pretty much everything was mate in 4. King comes forwards. Not the most accurate move. Please just bring your queens, Martin. Something like that. I don't know. Bring your queens. Queen h7 check. Queen h7 check. Okay. I like we said, though, this isn't going to be a threefold repetition. He can't do it. And he finally managed to bring a queen out. The first time we've seen Martin play with his queens all day. Oh my God, he's finally doing something. Let's go, Martin. Let's go. Brings his queen off. Fantastic. This is perfect. Bring your queen to the 7th rank. Cut the king off. Put him in a box. All you need to do now, here. That's it. Just bring your queen out. Bring it to the 8th rank. You win the game. That's not a queen. Okay. But his queen is here. Surely. Okay. King comes out. Sorry, queen comes out. This is threatened. This is threatened. It's impossible to avoid. And Martin takes down Stockfish in beautiful fashion. Oh boy, it only took 71 points of advantage for Martin to handle it. Oh my god. Oh well. I would like to say that Martin did his best, but not sure he did. I'm not sure he did. The results did kind of surprise me though. I thought he would win when I gave him a significant enough advantage just by taking away pieces. I didn't think he would be unable to actually find mate at all. I could see him finding mate if we like had maybe a couple pieces, but it's so hard to give Stockfish a couple pieces without Stockfish just overrunning him because he just forgets to capture back. So I don't know, man. If you're trying to be better than Martin bot, just remember you can recapture stuff that's defended. You got a queen, you can recapture stuff if it's taken. That's all you gotta know. That'll put you ahead of Martin bot. That'll give you a good head start on your chess journey. But hey, you know, chess.com can call Martin bot a grandmaster, can call you a grandmaster too. All of us are gonna make it. We're all gonna make it to the grandmaster level. Maybe not. It's a bit difficult. We're gonna make it to the fake chess.com grandmaster level. Anyway, guys, you guys get out of here. Thanks for watching. Hope you had a good time. I will see you next time. Goodbye. Have a good rest of your day.